You forgot there's been a four-cylinder M3. Hey, Jonathan Elliott. This is our weekly live stream. We're just going to sit around, talk about cars. We got a few good topics on the horizon today. We're just chatting for the moment, but we're going to get into some things like interesting builds of the week, things of that nature. So stick around, hang out. Hopefully, you enjoy yourself. Hanson picking the GTR. Well, to our viewers, that may be surprising, may not be surprising, all that sort of stuff. But to anyone who doesn't know, Hanson sleeps with a GTR poster every evening. He's a big fan, so that's not surprising to us. Geez, yeah, yeah. So, oh man, yeah. So, GTR is an awesome option. I would personally go for the R69 GTR. And to all of you who are saying that's not a real thing, check out B is for Build. Because he just took an R35 chassis, cut like somewhere between 4 and 5 inches out of the middle, and slapped an R34. Technically, it was a GTT or GTS body on it, but it was a GTR body kit, wide body, whole nine. It is epic. It works. I highly recommend if you're into like awesome builds, definitely check out that build because I mean what he did with his crew and all that was something of amazing. As for our question of the week, we're getting some great answers here. A lot of GTR love. Um, um, Kevin enjoys spending side. Hey, to each their own. That's what cars are great, man. Cars are great because you can love what you love, even if it spends more time on the door than the actual three wheels. Um, um, Yeah, we got another one. So I guess I'm probably the most qualified to answer this question as I've owned two of the three. My current 2015 Mustang GT and a 2002 E46 BMW M3. The answer to this question is simple: Mustang. Just now, let me put it to you this way: the M3 was a joy to drive when it worked. Mine just didn't do the whole working thing very frequently. My Mustang has been almost perfect the entire time I've owned it, apart from a couple niggly things here and there, like the rear view camera doesn't like to work in temperatures above 50, but yay, Ford just announced that they're issued a recall for that, so that free fix. And also the just pile of parts to make that thing an absolute monster. I'm so excited for 700. The goal is eventually 700 at the wheel. Not with the first stage of the supercharger, but with a pulley and some corn, we can get there. But yeah, Mustang all day for me. Um, it's yeah, it's just way too much fun. I guess that's the that's It's the bottom line. Nothing against the other two. I would love to play around with the GTR and things like that, but I own a Mustang and I sold my M3, so I guess that answers that. Um, so, hello and welcome. We are Shifting Lanes. I'm Chad. Uh, wow. Legend. So anyway, the buttery smoothness of the voice you were just hearing, that's Greg, aka Gregson if he's being professional. And then next to Greg, you have GTR enthusiast extraordinaire, reviewer, probably the best reviewer of cars on the internet, and that's Mr. Hanson Luckman. If you want to check out any of our reviews, the main channel, Shifting Lanes on YouTube, there's nobody better doing it right now if you're in the market for these cars. Find out what's good, what's bad, what's not so good, and all of the stuff in between. So we are Shifting Lanes. Got a good active chat tonight. I'm pretty excited. Talking with you guys, chat, not these two. Chat is one of the most fun things about this entire thing, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like I said, we got a lot of really cool things. We got a couple builds that might interest you or make you ill. Just be warned now. To talk about today, like I said, we are going to be talking about Hanson's been driving the Santa Cruz. We're gonna kind of talk more about that without giving too much of the review away, I guess. Darius with the E46 M3 GTR. I agree, that is probably the best looking of all the M3s, past or present. That GTR wide body was something I was looking for in my M3 when it got working. It never did, and I never had it. Pain. Um, and what are our thoughts on the 1967 Chevy Impala? Good classic. It's good. Yeah. Go on. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, speaking of, you see on screen.
That would be a 1967 Impala, gentlemen.
I was gonna say, I thought
Mm,
that was exactly what that
right.
was.
I mean, well, to go the
That's nice.
let me put it to you this way. I used to be a
Also,
huge muscle head. I used to enjoy the whatever. I would much rather this than the 90s variant that was front wheel drive and but my
Yeah.
first foray into loving cars was the muscle cars. So stuff like this, old Camaros, old Mustangs, old Challengers, Chargers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Old Darts. Like, you put a big V8 in it that really is unnecessary, and good things happen. To Hanson's point on Bullet, yeah, I couldn't tell you the plot of that movie, but the car chase kicks ass. So they kind of get.
Yeah, you gotta remember that, like, back then there wasn't really any other movies that kind of display that kind of action. So, like, to see it for the first time, it's like, wow, this is pretty amazing car chases. But so that probably set the standard at the time. But as far as like the story,
Law
I don't know.
enforcement things happened.
Haven't really seen it. So
It's
yeah,
it's still
bad
pretty
guys are
widely
in
regarded.
chargers.
It's still pretty widely regarded as one of the better car chase scenes ever. Even like by today's standards, like you have like the stuff like more modern stuff like from Ronin,
Yeah,
Matrix, uh, the beginning of Baby Driver, like that kind of stuff. Like you have like these sort of now like more modern iconic scenes, which is cool. But like even by today's standards, from what I know and from what I've read, everyone kind of considers Bullet to be like that's the standard, like you said, Haynes. Like you get that,
yeah,
and then you can expand on that because once you watch that scene, that sort of like really started the real car chase scenes. Like that one was filmed to make sure it was like as realistic as humanly possible at that time. So
Even if the Charger
that's
lost the
pretty
same
cool.
hubcap 3 times.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. You know how neat and Fast and Furious they like really shifted the gears. I think they had like a 10 gearbox.
Just remember, kids, when you upshift, your car
manual
goes
transmission.
immediately faster.
And then if you press the clutch and the brake at the same time, your car takes a screenshot. But like how in the Fast and Furious, you just like shifted so many times. Like in that Bullet movie, it's basically like losing about 10 hubcaps. So,
But it was the more reliable of the two cars.
or if you're in the Fast and Furious movie, you shift 25 times.
Well, you know, you got to. I mean, shifting is instant power, or NOS,
Yeah.
or just cinematic. But I mean,
Right.
a lot of movies and TV shows kind of follow that trope of shifting unnecessarily 72 billion times. It's just I guess they have to show that the driver's doing something. Apparently, just driving isn't impressive enough. They have to do other stuff with their hands. Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should. That actually brings up an interesting story from my youth. Back in the day, it's gonna sound this is almost 19, 20 years ago. Back when I was in college, I was on.
Yikes.
That you're gonna say 1920. I'm like, how old are you exactly?
I've aged well, kinda. Skin.
You look great.
It's all about taking care of it. But
Not a day over
when I was in
70.
absolutely
Great moisturizing
highly
routine.
recommend it. When I was in college, I was on the baseball team, and you get a bunch of college age guys hanging out. Eventually the testosterone comes to the fore, and we try to figure out who has the fastest cars. We didn't have anything crazy interesting or anything like that. I had a pretty much bone stock Ford Focus ZX3 at the time. One of our buddies did have I think it was a GSR Integra that he had done some work to. Another guy, actually the
nice.
WS6 Trans Am, based on the 4th gen Camaro platform with an LS1. That was actually pretty cool and stuff. So we actually had this stretch of parking lot that was, if I had to guess, about somewhere between 1/4 and 3/8 of a mile long. So we did a little almost 1/8 mile stuff. Like we never actually measured it out. It was pretty classic street racing and stuff like that. And I'm hoping the statute of limitations, as I say this, is out. But just in the parking lot, we do random racing. We'd race everything. Like our buddy had a extended cab Ranger. He got involved in the races and stuff like that. So we ended up. There's one dude. He said all of the Fast and the Furious things as if they were gospel. So we have this one race. He's in a I think a Civic Si or something like that. I'm in my Focus, and I smoke him. By like I think I put like a half a car on him, but in roughly an eighth, that's a pretty big gap, especially when you're talking about 140 horsepower. And and he and he had, like I said, a Civic Si or something like that, and he gets out of the car. He's like, how the hell did that thing beat me? I was doing everything, blah 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 blah. I was double clutching, all this other sort of stuff, and I was going, well, that's probably why you lost, because in a modern transmission.
Did you watch Fast and Furious and think
That was exactly it. I look him dead in the eye and say, yo man,
Oh my god.
if the car is not from the 60s or has synchros, double clutching ain't It's not a thing you need to worry about. I mean, it was just he's just sitting there like,
I feel like that's the thing that truckers still have to do.
I mean,
But yeah, like for car
modern
transmissions,
transmissions you don't
yeah.
really have to do that.
Um,
It's funny. This actually kind of
Yeah.
circles
right.
back to Bullet. If you listen to the Mustang, he's actually he's double clutching and rev matching on the upshifts. Because you hear him and it's vun, 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 as he goes along. He's matching revs as he upshifts. You think you only usually do that when you downshift, but he's actually doing it on the upshifts as well, and things like that.
Mhm.
Charles, what's going on, my man? How we doing this evening? Welcome. Hopefully you enjoy yourself.
Hello.
What's up? All right, let's talk about something cool and not Chad's old Ford Focus
Okay.
now.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Like literally anything else.
So anyway, I bought a second Focus.
Actually, that is actually a hilarious story as to why you had to buy a second Focus. And I've probably heard the story about 20 times, and it's never gotten old. It's
I
funny
only know
to
of
me
one story
because it
with.
didn't to me.
The longs.
Okay. I only know of one story with the Ford Focus, so I don't know
So
if
the
this is
first.
Is it the one with the tree?
it. It's something involving
Yes.
the door. So
Yes, it's exactly that story.
I'm
And
looking
it's so
forward to
good.
listening to this one more time.
Anyway, we don't have time for that. No, okay. So when I was, still in college. This actually might have been going into college. In any rate,
This is high school.
this is. So anyway, my first car, as these two know, was a silver Ford Focus ZX3. Had all the options you could want: crank windows, drum brakes in the rear. It was a real gem. And it was this was before I was kind of into the modding scene. I had thought about it, but I wanted something a little different. Duh. So I had this car, and we were over my friend's house, and a couple of us were hanging out. I'm getting ready to leave, and I think I'm trying to get my buddy in the car, or I'm trying to be whatever. But we're getting ready to leave. I have my door open, and he's taking it upon ourselves. Our friend, he was a bit of a pain in the ass, but I loved him anyway. But he was bouncing the basketball off of the windshield of my car, which was distracting and ticking me off all at the same time. So I'm like, fuck it, man. I'm leaving without you. You can get your own ride home. I backed up, and then bang, Tommy boy. I folded that door right into the quarter panel. And
forward. The door folds forward into the front quarter panel.
I think we found ratchet straps, bungee cords, rope, everything we could to get it as close to closed as we could. Drove that home. Managed to fix the hinges so it would latch, and about a week or so before it was going to the body shop to get fixed, I was coming home from school, or I was going from school to work. This is in college now. It was definitely in college because I was going from CCM to Hoffman Supply, which is where I worked at the time. And I'm coming around these bendy corners, and a combination of a deer jumping out in front of me and my lack of being Colin McRae, and I got into a tank slapper, and I ended up bouncing off of a guardrail, hitting an embankment, coming to rest with the driver's side door pointing at oncoming traffic right at a blind corner. Actually, if you guys, I'll link that in a second. If you wanted to, I made a video about that. The airbags, by missing me completely, I fully maintain, saved me from severe bodily harm and possibly death. Because, like I said, where I came to sit was right in a blind corner. Nobody was going to see me until it was too late. And the airbags went off, missed me, not a scratch on me. You hear horror stories of broken noses, burns, things missed me completely. And the smell of the burning, whatever it was in the airbag, was what snapped me back to reality. It was like, oh crap, I need to get out of this car. I need to make sure people don't come around this corner and hit it and all this other stuff. So it snapped me back to reality, and I still maintain, ended up saving my life and things like that. So,
So what we're saying is Chad's a terrible driver.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I drive a Mustang now. What could possibly go wrong?
Everyone look out.
Should we say that on stream? I don't think we should say that on stream.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Hashtag crowd control.
Exactly. I mean, that's
Well, this
listen, anyone at this point who stands within shouting distance of a Mustang when it's leaving an event, they should know better. Just saying.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. They really should know better. I think that at this point, it's pretty much on the secondary user, not the car user. Just don't be anywhere near leaving a meet where it's Mustangs, and you're fine.
And drive
I feel
responsibly.
like it's going to be like whale watching, right? It's like
also
these
drive
things will
responsibly.
happen. So it's like you just try to look out for it and just like wait for it to happen because it will happen.
Seal Forever, what's going
Yeah.
on, man? Welcome, enjoy, stick around, enjoy yourself. So, I feel
Yes.
like this is a primary opportunity for us to kind of segue from embarrassing moments in my motoring history. We'll get to how Greg almost killed someone leaving a bagel shop. Or no, I'm sorry, not killed, sorry.
Classic deflection.
Not killed, but, terrified a poor woman leaving our local bagel joint back in the day. We'll touch on that at some point. Let's...
I'm just angry at her.
We mentioned
Shouldn't
some
have done
interesting bills. Now, a lot of us have, thought about potentially getting like a C6 Corvette or something similar, or C7 or even a C8 if you can, because Corvettes offer a huge value for money. The LS family of engines is a legend, and rightfully so. But what if you didn't like the LS? What if you wanted to put in something different? And that brings me to... That would be a K-swapped C6 Corvette convertible. All those wearing New Balances at the moment, I probably
so
should have
funny.
warned you you're about to be triggered.
Yeah.
But so this is
That I was gonna say that looks like a Honda S2000, but you zoom out a little bit and there's a turbo and then a totally different body.
It just looks like a Toro lawnmower is shoved in there. It's hysterical. And I get like the Honda lawnmower memes are all over the place, but like look at that. There's like nothing in there. It's so tiny.
Feels like
There's so many. There's room for at least 6 more turbos in there, and there should be.
you know what that looks like is like when you open up like a case of beer or something like that, and then there's like a bunch of them already missing. It looks like there's at least 2 other engines that belonged in there. And it's just
so
the
let
one
me
left.
give you some important facts about this car as we continue to judge it mercilessly, as is what you do on the internet. This is actually designed to be a drag racing car. It's the LS. This came with an LS2, so the 6-liter V8, and now has a fully built K24 in it. So we are actually talking about some pretty decent horsepower numbers. Like I said, it's got a power glide behind it, 8-point-inch rear end, solid axle from Ford in the back. The rear transmission obviously was ditched. This has one where it traditionally sits, and this engine has 11-to-1 compression, a 67 millimeter turbo, and is going to produce in the neighborhood of 900 wheel horsepower. It made on around 20 plus pounds of boost.
That is...
You know what? I really actually love builds like this, all joking aside, because these builds are hilariously fast and great to watch on YouTube. Because you know that there's nothing. Holy shit! And then like that's how like these Honda motors with these massive turbos work. Is you get that old school '80s turbo lag.
Yeah.
And then you just get that like crazy surge, which is why you pre-boost so much before the lights, and just try to get like as much out with like, especially if there's like a power glide attached to it. Like it's just silly and it's hysterical. I actually love this. I think it's just great engineering,
I
and
think
I'm super happy that someone shoved a four banger into a Corvette just to trigger absolutely everybody.
yeah, I think they tried to trigger. You're right, trigger everyone because they put in a Honda engine into a GM body and then put a Ford rear end
Yeah, the
at the
Ford rear
back.
end isn't so
So I
much a
mean, like you're just
yeah,
trying to
the
cover all
Ford
the
rear end
brands
isn't
at
so
this
much a
point.
troll as it is kind of what you do. The Ford rear axle is pretty
Yeah,
popular among all makes of drag racers, whether it be Chevy, Ford, Dodge. It just happens to be that's one of the strongest rear ends you can put in on it. That doesn't cost you everything. And the funny thing is that this motor was just they had the chassis, they had the motor lying around from a previous build that I think was wrecked or something to that effect, and they're like, well, we have two, let's make something out of it. And that's kind of why I dig it. I'm like, because he's gunning for running in the high sixes, low sevens, plans to do drag week with it. So it's actually,
wow.
I mean, if this was a Z06, I would
That's
just,
cool.
I'd have a torch lit and a pitchfork
Well,
sharpened. But it's just a regular C6 and it's a convertible. So why not? Like, this is kind of cool. I
why not?
thoroughly enjoy something like this.
I'm I'm curious what the weight differential is between the K24 and
That's
the
actually
LS
really
because
For
that's
V8, LS is a pretty light.
yeah.
But it's I'm wagering yes, you'd still save at least 75 to 100 pounds with the 24 at
so.
least.
That's a pretty significant amount of
So the
savings.
Yeah, I mean you're lopping off half the engine
so the
essentially.
LS2 weighed
Yeah.
488 pounds. The K24 with the turbo manifolds and everything weighed 318 pounds.
Oh
Okay.
wow,
So
that's a lot.
those 160-pound savings, if
Yeah.
my math's correct.
Wow,
So
that
yeah, that's
is
a whole person.
nuts.
And like it's coming off of
Yeah.
the front axle, which is I guess not really doing anything when you're drag
More than
racing,
you'd think, but like you
just for
obviously want
stability, I
that weight
guess.
shift to move back for grip. But you obviously
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
also
Wheelie
don't want to
all the
wheelie,
yeah,
things.
which apparently C5s and C6s, since they're so similar, they're prone to wheeling. A lot of like, but
Yeah.
I'm curious with this one because like you remove the V8 weight up front and replace it with a four cylinder, but you move the weight of a transmission forward as opposed to being in the back. So like
yeah.
it's kind of interesting. Real quick, Andy, while that where is the comment? Where that VR6T Turbo Civic sounds awesome. I have a Mustang-sized
That
hole in
sounds
my
amazing.
wallet that needs filling. So
Also, wait, can we just talk about how Andy is swapping a VR6 into a Civic? And I really want to get
Yeah,
hang on, I want to get this Ryan Reynolds meme just right. But why?
that was,
I mean, why not, man? I mean,
close.
if you're like, I mean, I understand you guys aren't as like don't go to bed at night thinking, I wonder what would be an interesting swap into a slightly less interesting chassis, but the combination would make it so interesting and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, money no object. I'd love to just swap everything into
Yeah.
everything.
Real quick, guys.
Why
Seal
not?
Forever asks, looking for a sporty sedan under $40,000. Automatic Stinger GT line? Question mark. Jetta GLI? No. Sonata N line or even a Forte GT? Not exactly fan of the K5 looks, but it will be a daily in PA, so we'll see how. So we'll see snow. Stinger is all-wheel drive.
I have tested that Sonata N line, and that review is actually up on our YouTube channel, and that is a fantastic car. It had a pretty ugly yellow color, but I believe it has the 2.5 liter turbo engine in it, pushing like around 280 horsepower. I believe it's front wheel drive only, but man, that thing has some pull. And you know, with I like Hyundai's a lot just because I feel like you get a lot of bang for your buck, and that is a serious sedan. You get so many features in that car. and with the amount of power, it was actually pretty fun to drive. So that would be my pick. Uh, the Stinger, I mean, that's a really cool car too. You know, like twin turbo V6. Um, I mean, that's just a lot of power right there. So if you could get that
Mm.
for that price, that might be the best car in there. But personally, I've tested that Hyundai Sonata N line, and I like it a lot. The Kia Forte GT, I believe that's the same car as the Sonata N line, because Hyundai and Kia are kind of like sister companies, and they share similar platforms and stuff. So
Yep.
they're going to be very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure honestly. If you're looking for something newer, I don't think you can really go wrong with the Stinger GT. I'm not a huge fan of the car. I don't like the looks, and I don't like why out that car to market. But as a car, it's a really good performance value for money. So if you can get one for under 40 grand, absolutely good for you, and go for it, especially if it's still under warranty. Um, if you're looking for something that's a little bit older and you could kind of maybe stretch the dollar on, you can find some E90 M3s for under 40K that are actually not total shit kickers. You can actually find pretty good ones. I had a supercharged one that I sold I bought for 30, I think 30,500, and I sold it for like 31. I mean, today's market, that car is probably worth like 39, but you can still find them with relatively low miles under uh, for under 40K. So that would be my suggestion. Want something a little more interesting. If it's got to be newer, I agree with Hanson. That Sonata N line is really good. You can also get although sporty sedan. Never mind. I'd say out of what you just put down there, I'd say Stinger GT is probably the best. But personally, I'd look for an E90 M3 just because it's just a cool car. And if you don't have to as a daily, that would be my pick. I also think F80 M3s are getting a little cheaper too.
Yeah. I think Chad's trying to say something, but he's muted and he doesn't
Damn
know
it,
about
Greg.
it.
It's probably better that way. Can you go back on mute? That would be
Yeah,
nice. Hanson and I were having a lovely discussion
And
with
muting both of you.
Exactly.
It's got to be Stinger. Like, as far as value, what you're going to get performance wise in it, all wheel drive. We're all from New Jersey, so we get the snow and things like that. Even though front wheel drive ain't bad in the snow, especially if you have the right tires. Tires hugely important for winter driving, even if you have all wheel drive. Stinger depends of how far back you want to go into the used market and things like that. And find things. But of the options you listed, I would probably say the Stinger, and it is Greg's all-time favorite car, so that there's a plus. A story for another day. Jonathan
Yeah.
was thinking about putting a 454 into his 300ZX, but was talked out of it and ended up putting.
Yes.
Here's a cool, funny thing about that. If you want to see what you missed on Tavares' second channel, Wrench Every Day, they have a 300ZX that they're putting a 454 in that they're going to turn into a burnout car. So if you like that motor, want to see the motor built, all that sort of stuff, I definitely recommend that because it's actually a pretty interesting build. They did a 2J swap on it and decided, nope, and put a big block in it, which is it's A-okay in my book. It's okay. But while we're talking about interesting motor swaps and that sort of thing, let me just get rid of that. We are going to go with this one. Now, if you're looking at it and you see the slideshow,
logo is well. I mean,
the
it's
Vodo,
half
the
right.
the Vodo. I think I'm Freudian slip there on what this actually is. So behind the very yellow paint, the very Bumblebee interior. We seem to find a lot of these. That old Viper Vet thing had this similar interior. This is an
Yeah.
E46 3 Series sedan with a way too powerful a stereo. Vorsteiner, I think, wide body kit, and not a straight 6 up front or an inline 4, but actually a Volvo T5 out of an 850.
A straight 5.
Wow.
Greg, we
It would have been
Which is
cool if
awesome.
they matched the
That's cool.
850R yellow. You know, that like, I don't know, that
Oh, yeah,
special
the-
faded yellow color.
It's
Would've
called
been cool.
cream yellow in the U.S.
Cream
and
yellow.
gull yellow globally.
I'm sorry, what yellow?
Or ghoul, I don't know how it's pronounced. Gull, G-U-L.
Interesting.
Mm.
But it's in the U.S. paint code literally says cream yellow next to it. But I got reamed out on the forums for saying cream yellow for I don't know why, but it's literally cream yellow U.S. But globally it's like gull or ghoul. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I guess that's the paint code elsewhere. So, but yeah, cream yellow, really cool. That would have been awesome to put on this car. That old 850 like T5R.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this
Also would have loved it if they did like the old DC livery for the wagon.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome on this.
So, according to some of the details on this, this is, to those who aren't familiar, it's the 2.3 liter B5234T engine from Volvo. It was, which added challenges because those motors were transversely mounted, and making it run longitudinally is a bit of an issue, something Mazda actually found out in early Miatas with the 4 cylinders there. Believe it or not, the old NA and NB Miatas were prone to a little bit of overheating based on where the coolant ports and stuff entered the block and the heads and all that other sort of stuff. No word if this suffers that same problem. However, apparently the cylinders the internals are forged. The cylinder head has been ported about 3 years ago, and apparently that's good enough for 500 horsepower. I'm not sure if that's at the terrible choice in wheels or at the crank. The article, and this was actually for sale on Facebook Marketplace for a while. It's no longer up, unfortunately, but
Oh, do we know
it
the
was
price?
like 8,500 pounds. Or no, I'm sorry, 7,500 pounds.
Oh.
So
Okay.
Interesting.
it
You know,
500 horsepower is
not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would have bought that for if that was
Yeah.
$7,500 in the U.S. I probably would have bought that and tried
Yeah.
to fix it because there's a
yeah,
lot
get
wrong
rid of that.
with it. But like for one, the wheels and the weird wheel arches and the interior and the system in the back that needs to not be there. Keep the engine in the car. Just redo the whole thing. But I mean, 500 horsepower is no joke, and those engines, there's a bunch of guys out there getting big power out of the T5s. There's one that was built. It's like over 1,200 horsepower on a T5, which is pretty gnarly. I think there's a couple drag cars out there on red blocks too that are pushing over 1,000. But yeah, those straight fives they're awesome engines. They sound the business, and they're just cool. So this is a really nice swap. Just wish it was done a little bit more tastefully.
I'd say buy it for the 7,500 pounds or whatever, and part it out, and you could probably make a good chunk of change.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
Probably.
I actually kind of dig the Vorsteiner kit. I dig the carbon fiber hood. I don't dig the
Wait. How many
4
speakers are in
to
that
7.
door? Go back to that picture.
It's
Why?
you need all those speakers and all those amps to
Oh
crank
my
out
God.
black and yellow all the time.
Like, I get the subs in the trunk. Cool. That looks like a caricature of a trunk. But still, like, there are 4 speakers in the door. And it's not even like a tweeter and like a mid-range and like a bass. There was 4 bass speakers on the bottom of the door. Oh my
So,
God.
apparently-
Why? That's so bad. Sorry. Anyway, I just saw that. I'm like,
Apparently,
that's bad.
each front door
Anyway,
has
sorry, go.
7 speakers, and this is a Oh, that yellow paint is apparently out of the Nissan Lightning variety. Again, the yellow is like the
Hmm.
yellow interior, the yellow paint. I'm not even that mad at,
Well,
but like, yo, you put a powerful engine in a car with so much extra weight.
I like the
Yeah.
I like the thought of, adding extra weight with the speakers, but then they went with the carbon fiber hood to help offset that weight gain. So smart.
Yeah, not sure if there's. I'm not sure if they got that weight back,
Yeah.
but not sure. But the premise of this thing, man, I dig the hell out of 500 horsepower. Like we all know, those 5 cylinders sound epic, right? It's unique, it's different, it's got enough
Yeah.
power to be like, yo, what's up? Even though this is whatever the opposite of a sleeper is. Um, it's done.
Yep.
I mean, the work looks like it was done well. I mean, a lot of stuff's a matter of taste.
Yeah, like that picture there looks super
Yeah.
clean. Like the engine with
Yeah.
the turbo, the like little, not a manifold, but like the little engine cover right there with the BMW. Like, that looks really
Yeah,
nicely
like-
done.
Was the turbo housing like
Yes.
powder coated yellow?
Yes,
too?
it was.
I think so, yeah.
It
But
looked
like
it, right?
again,
Okay.
I dig
looked like it
I
matched
dig
the car.
I dig the styling of it. I think there are far worse things to do to a 3 Series M3 than this. With the again the stereo, like I feel like this is right out of the like
Look at
I
that.
feel like this is something right out of
That's
the early
insane.
2000s, Pimp My Ride handbook.
Yeah, this would totally fit in around that era, and it hit all the marks. Kind of like the little bit of chrome on the wheels and the carbon fiber, obviously. Well, which is still popular now, but all the speakers, kind of like everywhere you could find extra space,
Yeah, like
put a speaker in there, and it feels like it's that strategy right here.
yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that turbo housing is powder coated. So wow, they
And
took
it looks like the inlet
the extra
manifold
step.
too.
Cost.
That's
Mhm.
like you said, like everybody has their own like
Ugh.
those wheels are terrible as well. Um,
Those wheels are just
everybody
an
has their
absolute tragedy.
favorite the build they want to build, right? Where the guy with the Corvette, he was like, you know what? I have this ridiculously powered Honda motor. I have this lightweight Corvette chassis. I'm gonna make them work together and go run stupid fast quarter-mile times. Like, go for it. This guy was obviously like, he loved cars and loved music and loved loudness and things. And I don't like I said. I mean, he almost like if this was in the U.S., I'll pay for it, buy it, gut the stereo, and move on. Yep, definitely Too Fast, Too Furious. The only thing missing is the Lambo doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is three thrashed, three furious. That's what this is.
And what's funny is like they didn't go with the M3 bumper. That's like the 325.
Yeah, well, this
bumper or
started as a
something
three.
that.
This
That
started as a
looks like-
325 with the 2.5 liter straight six and everything. It does have the
No,
M3
that's
CSL
Yeah.
rear wing or rear deck lid or spoiler, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
But I mean, there could have been issues with the body kit fitting. Those big ass fender arches, the box fenders, which honestly
Maybe.
I thought would be worse on the E46 chassis. But like I said, I think it works. It's
Yeah, there are good aspects. Yes, there are good aspects.
this is
but
redeemable. You can
It
fix
could have
this.
it could have been better.
This is
Yeah,
you
you
can go
can
to
fix it.
rehab and come out the other side a better person car. So,
Yeah, true.
all right.
Interesting. That's a great. Also, the theme of tonight's build is cobble weird shit together because the
Yeah.
first one was Honda, Corvette, Ford rear. This is BMW body with, I would only imagine, a Rockford Fosgate sound system and a Volvo motor
This,
and a Nissan paint,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
hilarious to me. So that's
this is like
cobbled
the
together build. build night on Shift
This is
Live.
the Crutchfield catalog car.
Yeah. All this car is
The entire
missing.
catalog in there.
All this car is missing is a girl sitting in the front seat and her hair going crazy from the bass. What you see on like all those like car show videos of like, okay, we're gonna crank up the bass. It's gonna go wild. It's gonna be hilarious. We're gonna make a viral video out of it. Just sit here and react. It's gonna be great. That's all this car is missing is that.
Oh man, yeah. So, again, like we have. That was the car culture back in the day, man. I mean, I couldn't find any information on
It still
if
is.
this has underglow, or is in Race Wars the European edition, or if Hector spent a lot of money on the motor and
Spoon
Johnny
engines.
Tran and. At any rate, let's talk about a car that we all actually kind of like. And it
Pagani?
okay, you're gonna have to set your expectations way lower. Um,
Oh, well, that's it for the stream. See you guys
all
later.
right, now that we got rid of Greg,
Corvettes?
this almost feels when they first started talking about this vehicle. I actually when they first started talking about this vehicle, it sounded like an internal Hyundai project car, but now that it's out and we've been driving it and it has competition, genuine competition, this seems to be a popular thing going around. We are now talking about the Santa Cruz, the crossover / pickup truck that Hanson, you just launched a review on, and tell us about it.
Yeah. So, well, this thing looks like a pickup truck, doesn't it? Right? I mean, it's got like a bed, and but Hyundai calls this the Sport Adventure Sport Adventure vehicle. So, well, let me ask you guys first. What do you guys think about like utes and pickup trucks or like cars that have beds in them? Big fan? Not a fan?
It's the Subaru Brat.
Yeah.
Baja for life.
I like them. I like them because it's cool. Cool. I think this is cool. I think the Maverick's cool. Small trucks and utes, I think, are cool. All the way back to like the old Mazda, the B trucks, the B series trucks, back in like the 80s and 90s. Those are just
Ranger.
cool. Like a small utility. Yeah, original Ranger.
No. The B series was a rebadged
utilitarian
Ranger.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, was it? I didn't actually realize that. Oh, it's probably that Ford Mazda mashup that happened for like 2 decades. But either way, they're just cool. Like I like small utilitarian cars, and this is one of them. I mean, and this isn't even that small, but by modern standards, it's pretty small. But it's cool. I dig it. I think it's neat. The styling on the Hyundai is a lot more wild than the Maverick. This is like your vehicle, whereas your Maverick is like, okay, well, I just need a small truck. But this is neat. I like that they actually made this. We were seeing this concept for like what seemed like 10 years, and then they actually made one, which was kind of nice. So I dig it. I think it's really neat.
Cool.
I'm actually.
What do you think, Chad?
I like these types of vehicles, right? Like, I mean, let's face it. The last decade plus that we've been marching to just the boring monotony of crossovers just taking over. And while this is based on a crossover, it's like, yeah, it's a cross. It's just different. And we can throw stuff in the back. And you can throw tall things in the back. And it is a little bit more rugged. And it can do a little bit more when the pavement ends. And I honestly think it looks incredible. The grill is growing on me. At first, when I first saw that, I was like, there's entirely too much going on here. Now it's kind of now that overall design aesthetic in the crossovers at least is starting to grow on me. But is that a bed cover actually integrated?
Yeah.
Hanson, just while I see it. Nice.
Yeah, the tonneau cover.
But
the tonneau cover is integrated.
That's good.
I really
Watch that ad.
ads.
Watch that ad. Give us a ad.
I really do enjoy the idea of like making less boring something that's less boring than the traditional crossover, right? So these things they're cool, and let's face it, man. I think when I did the when I released the news that Hyundai was making this and it was going to be real and a thing and people were going to buy it. Let's face it, pickup trucks are the best selling vehicle in the country. People love pickup trucks,
Sure.
but they don't need pickup trucks. So like they don't need that extra weight. They don't need that extra just mass that a body on frame vehicle provides and things like that. So like there was a need for something like this. People can go to work, daily drive this thing, not use a ton of fuel, throw stuff in the back, have something for the Home Depot runs, all that sort of stuff. Like it's just a no brain. It's one of those types of cars where you're like, duh, they should have been made years ago. And I guess it kind of was with the Subaru
Yeah.
Baja, but that was a little too funky. Um,
Yeah, it was a little
Yeah.
before its time. I think that was like right in between when the Brat sort of died out, and then these new ones sort of came on, and also the Baja like was right before the market crash, so I think that also helped kill it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean the Baja was like the only player in the game for a while, and no one really wanted it. So
Yeah.
I mean I get it, but
So
I think Steel Forever. I think this is pretty ugly. Not a question, but he thinks it's ugly. He or she thinks it's ugly. Would definitely prefer the Maverick. Is this selling like the Maverick? I don't think it is. Hanson, do you have more insight into that?
I don't know, but the Maverick is definitely cheaper than
Yeah.
this, and I think the Maverick is really selling a lot better than Hyundai's. Mavericks, they're actually having pretty good trouble trying to fulfill those orders, and like people are waiting like months to get the Maverick. And of course, the Maverick you could buy it for like less than $20,000, retail price after taxes and everything. It's going to be more than that, but uh, I think Mavericks are just uh, more popular than this. But back to what you guys were talking about, you guys are both right in terms of the looks. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is like it's like nothing else available right now. It's like amongst the sea of boring cars and crossovers, this thing really stands out. And it's got a 2.5 liter turbo. It's making like over 300 pound-feet of torque, I believe, and that is a serious amount of power. And
I didn't realize
this
it
thing,
was that powerful. Actually.
yeah, yeah. So this is like the same engine as found in that other car that we were talking about earlier, the Hyundai Sonata N line. And this also
Oh
has
wow.
this has an 8-speed
Interesting.
wet dual clutch transmission, which is like that's I don't know if it's the same exact unit that you could find in the Hyundai Veloster N, but those transmissions are awesome. I mean, they shift super
Wow.
quick, and they're very smooth. And like the pickup aspect of this, this is like a unibody construction, so it's not like body on frame. So a bunch of things are going to be improved, like the ride quality is going to be improved. Safety wise, it should technically be safer too, and like your efficiency is going to be a lot better, just because these things are going to be a little bit lighter weight than like your body on frame stuff. Um, but yeah, like the pickup aspect of it, I think the bed is like 4 feet long, just a little bit longer than 4 feet long, which is I think this is the shortest bed you could buy on the market if you consider this to be a pickup truck. So no, it can't do some of the things that like bigger pickup trucks can do. But if you realistically think about like the things you could do with a pickup truck and how often you need it, it's like I think the average person isn't making runs to Home Depot every weekend.
No.
Um, they are going to work, every weekday. They're taking trips on the weekend, and sometimes they like to, like tow stuff very occasionally.
Yeah.
So like this is something that's like perfect for that. It's like a jack of all trades but master of none kind of thing. It's it can't carry all the big stuff. It could still tow up to like 5,000 pounds. But
That's not bad.
yeah, with the all-wheel drive version. Um, but it's like, how often are you towing things like that? If you do a lot of like work with your truck, then obviously get something more purpose built.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, this is like basically kind of like your crossover, but you've got a bed too, and you could do all those other things. So
I think
I was a big fan.
I think a lot of people get hung up a lot like the horsepower wars with trucks. Like horsepower wars, everyone knows what Top Gear did to the horsepower wars, and it's kind of just like, oh, more power, power. The Clarkson kind of motif in car culture, where it's the more power the better. Where we talked about it on a previous stream, like the more power does not equal the more better. Power is great. 1,000 horsepower cars, super cool. But in certain applications, like they're just not a realistic like thing, nor are they functional. Like 1,000 horsepower in a Miata, probably going to die. So not really a functional thing. 1,000 horsepower in what Chad just put up, a Mustang or a C6 Corvette, something like that. Definitely super cool and can handle that. The chassis is like made for it. I think the same sort of thing happens in trucks, where everyone sort of thinks trucks should just be big and tow everything and have the largest bed possible and blah, blah, blah. 95% of truck buyers don't need all of that. They don't. They just don't. That's actually like demographics, and that is statistics. This and the Maverick are what 95% of truck buyers need: an economical truck that has an open bed, a functional bed that you can just huck stuff back there, and that's like utilitarian. This or the Ranger, or it's really like all truck buyers, like those two sizes, really anyone ever need. Big work trucks like F-150, F-250, and up, like those sizes, those are great for workplaces, construction sites, towing huge rigs and stuff like that. Midwest, you have a farm, you need a big truck to haul around trailers and horses and livestock and everything you'd need to haul around for a farm, giant hay bales, blah, 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 whatever. You don't need that in a lot of populated places in this country. This is something you would need in those other places.
And I think people need to be, again, like realistic about what their needs are, because I feel like people tend to get like the bigger car or like the pickup truck as opposed to something like this, because they always think about like, well, what if I need it to do this one weekend or something like that? Then you should probably just rent a truck from Home Depot, because if you use it very sparingly, you're gonna end up paying for like worse gas mileage the other 51 weekends that you don't need to do all those big things. But yeah, no, this is like the perfect car for someone who likes to, like do outdoorsy things, but still like to, commute to work. Because with the bed, you could just like fit in so many more things in there, and you've got like a roof rack, so you could even put stuff up there. And this still returns like pretty good gas mileage, unlike a pickup truck. This and the Honda Ridgeline are like, I think they fall victim to like people making fun of them as not like being real pickup trucks, but it's like in the end, like those buyers are much more satisfied with the vehicle that they have, because it's like it rides so much better, and they can still do like 80% of the things that other dedicated pickup trucks can. So I just think it's a smart buy.
So I think it's a lot of things, right? Like I'll equate it to my cars and stuff, right? I drive a Mustang. Most of the people in the forums, if you don't have a V8 Mustang, you are somehow less than human. And it's kind of the same thing. If you don't get the full-size pickup truck, what do you really even do? You might as well have just bought a Miata. Or like, I understand it doesn't get to that extreme, but it's a lot of it is that we've been ingrained in our heads that this, like the full-size pickup truck, even the mid-size pickup truck, this is what a truck is. Nothing else is a truck. This is what you need. Like, built Ford tough, like a rock, Chevy taglines, and all that other sort of stuff. That they're supposed to be big, bold, tough, be able to tow down a church if you wanted to, or pull it back up or something like that. We've just been ingrained to where something like this comes along, which is a brilliant idea. And absolutely, like I said before, like this is something we absolutely need. You could get this or the crossover. Now, real quick before I keep going on, is the rear legroom in this comparable, the same, or less than the equivalent crossover on which it's based?
The Tucson, yeah. So this is kind of on the Tucson platform. The wheelbase is actually 10 inches longer, but the legroom is like 5 inches shorter. The rear legroom is 5 inches shorter than the Tucson. If you've ever been in a Tucson, like the second row is humongous. But with this one, like, because they have to fit in that 4-foot bed, like the second row basically had to be kind of like pushed forward, even though the vehicle is a bit longer. But with that said, you still have pretty decent legroom in the second row. I never found it to be like, I think that 36 inches is like the key metric that you're trying to hit for like decent rear legroom. So I think this has that. And but yeah, if you compare it to the Tucson, I mean, the Tucson is just gigantic, really comfortable in the second row.
Now, real quick, as we're seeing it, are these oh God, are these more haptic buttons?
Ugh. Yes, unfortunately, yeah. Haptic buttons, no volume dial.
I mean, it looks great. It looks really good.
Yeah, Hyundai is. It looks cool. Yeah, I mean, it looks very clean. When everything is clean and everything's turned off, it looks pretty luxurious, actually. But then, like those big panels are also like fingerprint magnets. So like once you get a couple of smudges on there, it just looks downright filthy. So like in this video, I just have like a microfiber cloth in there just to kind of keep things clean, because this thing is like a huge fingerprint magnet. But yeah, that's the one thing I don't like about this panel is like when you're driving, I just like all buttons because there's like some tactile feedback to them, and sometimes you don't even have to look at what you're touching to kind of press those buttons. But in here, you just kind of have to know where your hand is because there's no feedback, because it's just one flat panel.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean,
but aside from that, I think the interior is pretty beautiful.
I think.
Yeah, it's a nice interior.
I think
for sure.
Hyundai is another one of those companies that is just. That's really getting, the interior's right, simple, not a sea of stuff. And I think what makes it great, there you go with the microfiber. What's great about the interior is simple, elegant, is also they go too far with these, with these not a real buttons that I guess we're just going to have to get used to, because it seems like they're everywhere. But this, now, I'm sure you touched on it in your review, but you can, can you remind me what was the tow rating on it? And could you actually put that weight into something tangible? Like, is it a boat? Is it a small boat? Is it, a couple bikes or toys or something like that?
Ooh. I can do that part. I know what you said. You tell the things, but I can tell based on a trailer like what you can actually tow, because I've been looking into that a lot.
Okay, so yeah, like a mid-size pickup trucks, they try to hit that 5,000 pound number, and if the model that I was driving is the all-wheel drive version, so the front-wheel drive version, I think the tow rating goes down to like 3,500 pounds, I think. But with all-wheel drive, if you have an attachment with like a brake trailer, you could tow up to 5,000 pounds. But go ahead, give us some examples.
So like anywhere from 500 to 5,000 pounds is basically a trailer that all you would need for anything tailgating and anything to go into sort of like the wilderness. You can tow a fairly substantial trailer with that. One of our friends, Kriston, has a very light trailer. I think it's about 3,500 pounds. And in there is 2 beds, a bathroom, a kitchen, and like three other things that you would not associate small trailers with, and those are about 3,500 pounds. And
Hmm.
5,000 pounds is a big, it's a big trailer. Like you can get like, you know, a lofted bed, like an actual like dining unit in there. It's like a lot, honestly. If you go on any search engine ever and just put in 5,000 pound trailer and you just look at the inside, like it's a good amount. There's expanding trailers. I mean, anything you'd want to go on like a cross country road trip and just like sleep in the trailer, drive during the day, whatever. Like it's a good amount of space. Like it's 5,000 pounds is significant for what like your general caravaner would do. So it's like I'm very impressed that it can tow 5,000 pounds. Quite honestly, which
Yeah, two and a
or
half
two and a
liter
half liter,
turbo.
yeah. Still, I mean, even 2.5 liter, 5,000 pounds, still very impressive, honestly.
So, you actually have a Tucson still, correct, Hanson?
Yeah, yeah. Got a
Would you
2017
consider
Hyundai Tucson.
replacing
Uh,
it with one of these?
well, yes, because I had the 2017 Hyundai Tucson was one of the first units with the dual clutch transmission. Now it had a 7-speed dual clutch transition, dry dual clutch transmission. So it's like I think it was like the second year that Hyundai included it in their Tucsons, and it's kind of a weird transmission. You know, it's like it shifts really fast. You know, much faster than like a manual transmission or a human moving a manual transmission could. But at the same time, it's got a lot of quirks. You know, it's not great for like bumper to bumper traffic, just because the constant engagement and disengagement of the clutches kind of it could eventually overheat the transmission. So that's a problem. And it's also sometimes not very smooth, you know, like in low speed situations. So for that reason alone, I'm like, yeah, let's upgrade to this 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission. Um, the Tucson, there's still reasons to have a Tucson over this. You know, like the hatch is very useful still. Like both of these vehicles are, you know, very utilitarian vehicles. The, like a crossover has that covered hatch, and you could put fairly tall things back there. So it really depends on what your needs are. Like a crossover might be the better solution. So for that reason, like the Tucson is still, you know, something I would like to keep. But um, but I mean, this thing just looks so cool. So it has like a really cool front bumper. I love how the grill and the headlights kind of, or the daytime running lights kind of like, you know, fuse together. And it's such a distinctive look, and it doesn't look like anything else out there on the road right now. And, you know, the engine's
Yeah, it's
powerful.
cool.
And yeah, I don't know, it's so unique looking. And that bed, it's like, you just put whatever back there.
As long as it's
It's
Yeah,
so
small
easy.
like
plywood.
this is what I would.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Like
and I
this is what
forgot
I would
that
be getting.
there's also a trunk in there. So just like the Ridgeline, and that's another benefit to these unibody uh, pickup trucks is that you can actually, you know, just because it's not like a separate bed that's sitting on top of a frame, like a ladder style frame, like you could form the structure kind of like any way you want, obviously within reason. But the benefit is like you could put in like storage compartments where you normally wouldn't. You know, normally it would be like a structural component, but in here it's like a big cavity. So in like the Honda Ridgeline and also in this Hyundai Santa Cruz, there's an integrated trunk in the back below the bed. So in the Honda Ridgeline, it's actually like a more deep trunk. You could fit more stuff in there, and in this one, it's actually I think it's like only like 6 inches deep, but you could still store stuff in there, which is pretty cool. And they both have like drain plugs, so you know if you go tailgating and like that, you can just like store ice in there and just like put your beers or whatever, and then at the end just kind of take out the drain plug and just just like any other cooler.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice
I love
wordplay.
that, and I love the like stupid. Yeah, I like the stupid utilitarianism of things like this. It's what drew so many people to what was that Honda that you could like hose out the interior. It was really funky. It was like two-tone. Um,
Element.
yeah, the Element. It's like the Element. Like that was like one of the first sort of vehicles that you could really. It was really like utilitarian, like in different ways. Where like you're talking about like, oh, well, this thing has drain plugs where you can kind of just hose out or use it as like a cooler. Like that's neat. I love stuff like that. You'd never think of that, but it's something that you can use in a different way where it's just like, oh, it's not just a truck bed. They think about these things and the design aspect of it, and I really love that. Like that's really cool to me. I would gravitate towards more of something like that than a traditional truck, because you still get the traditional truck benefits, but a lot more ingenuity. And I know that like big modern trucks, they do have like cool things in the bed. They're doing a lot of really neat stuff back there. Tailgates, the GMC like 6-way tailgate, really cool. But like this stuff we're seeing, I really like that. Just the funky stuff. I like interesting things, and that to me is like very interesting.
Yeah, and it still looks like the concept that that kind of wowed us so many years ago, and this actually has a wider track than the Hyundai Tucson, and it looks beefy. You could see it in that shot where like the rear is
like rear haunches
like more
to it.
bulged out. Yeah, and the ground clearance is probably not as good as other pickup trucks, but it's like it still looks cool. It's also like small. In person when you look at it compared to like another truck. So so if you have like a what do you call it? Inferiority complex.
So it's the Napoleon of trucks.
So this is the one you buy with a big donger, and you don't you buy the F-250 Super Duty small donger. That's the
Anywho, now last on this I want to touch on
tomorrow.
because well, it's me, and I can't look at a car and not think this immediately. Possibly an issue. I'm considering seeing a support group. What about aftermarket support and like modability? And do you see these things getting the mod treatment? Let's just say someone decides they want to put like 32. How big are the tires on this thing, by the way?
I'm gonna say like 19 or
and the
20s.
Total diameter of the tire.
The wheel, the tire. I'm not sure
But I mean,
how big the tires are. They look like traditional passenger crossover size. So
because I mean, you didn't really
see.
At least I didn't see much in the Honda Ridgeline. You didn't, which is kind of this thing's precursor. That's if you want to look at it that from like a timeline perspective, from the Subarus to this. But like you didn't see much there. But I think this looks just out there enough to where people are going to want these things, and then they're going to want to put, they're like, again, I can't. I was like, I wonder if this thing would even be able to spin, 32, 35 inch tires, and not be just so woefully geared that it's becomes undrivable or something like that. Those little motors that you were talking about, from what I understand, you can tune them pretty well, get some pretty decent power out of them, and that sort of thing. But I'm just, I guess curious if there's going to be an aftermarket for this, or if it's going to be like the Ridgeline and people are like, meh, we got it because we like what it is and we're going to move on with our life.
Yeah. This is a totally new model for Hyundai for 2022. No data on like how many have been sold. So we're not sure how popular this is. I think we're going to have to give it a couple of years to really see what the potential is. I'm sure that there's going to be like a strong following, just like like the Subaru, the Brat, and like the old Ford Sport Track. I'm sure there's going to be like a core dedicated following that's going to love these cars and are eventually going to mod it. Obviously, one of the mods that pickup truck buyers would usually do is putting like a lift kit in there, which kind of reminds me that this doesn't have the traditional pickup truck suspension, rear suspension, because usually they are like leaf spring suspension. This one actually has independent rear. So it rides just like a crossover. It rides just like a car and super comfortable. So I don't know what that would mean for like lift kits, because I would think that it's like much more complex to kind of,
I mean, you could
put a lift kit with the independent rear.
you could get something like King Springs, which will give you like a 1.5 to 3 inch lift depending on what you want, and that's those are for like traditional cars. You just see like a bunch of like Subaru WRX people and like Outback people putting like lifts on their stuff. You can get King Springs. They make lifted suspension, so it's not out of the question. It's definitely my guess is it's not going to be as big as a normal truck aftermarket would be, but I mean, they make something for everything. I guarantee
Sure.
someone could buy this
There's a
thing
big enough market.
and put a lift on it in some capacity with some bigger tires and make it more off-roady.
Well, you're already seeing. I think someone already, or they did a render. I'm pretty sure it's actually been built. Someone slammed a Maverick and put it on Steelies, and it looked awesome.
Oh yeah, that was a SEMA car. That was so cool.
Yeah,
I would do that immediately.
Yeah. Actually, that's like a trend that I'm really hoping would kind of catch on, and because these cars look very special when you do it, but when you lower crossovers and put like big wheels on them, they look super aggressive, and they end up looking like
Because all they
wagons.
are hatchbacks, and no one realizes that.
They're basically wagons, which is what we love. And but if I mean, seeing them on the road, I'm like, wow, that looks really unique. Just like put a lowering springs on crossovers, and it totally drastically changes the look.
Seriously.
oh man.
I mean, I'd do it.
Yeah, right.
I'll
do it too once the warranty runs out.
Like if you look at like the design aspect of a lot of crossovers, there are a lot of them that are like pretty cool looking. Like Mazda CX-5 is a nice looking crossover, and if you put that on lowering springs with some like 19s or 20s on it, and slapped a really nice turbo kit in there, you're talking about basically a Mazda Speed 3 that they didn't make. Honestly, like it's a pretty cool concept. Like I guarantee you in the next 5 to 10 years, probably sooner, there will be a YouTube channel of somebody called, like crossover, I don't know, crossover court for lack of a better name, because I'm not thinking right now, but they take crossovers, they slam it cool, and then they like do those builds. Like guaranteed that's going to happen. All right. Because
starting a YouTube channel now called Mazda CX-5 fan. For all of your lowered CX-5 content, hit that subscribe button.
Thank you for everyone, or just the one of you who has subscribed. No. Oh man, shifting crossovers coming never. Yeah, these things, like I said, these things are, I think, a necessary evil, and I think they're only gonna, like, the Maverick shows that there's a demand for vehicles like this. I don't think it's going to be an accident to see, like, Chevy, Dodge, Stellantis as a whole, to see Toyota. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next year Toyota's got one of these things, because Maverick's proving that people want these things. Hyundai took a big swing with the styling, and like a lot of people said, that it may not be for everyone. But this thing is like I said, it's a vehicle that needs to exist. It needs to show that it can be successful. And I think Hyundai did a really good job of being bold with it. Ford did a really good job of being practical with it, and I think the industry is going to follow. Anything successful gets copied. So, all right.
Yeah.
Anywho, so to go through here, Greg, are all your Volvos still running? Just asking for a friend.
Yes, they are. They are all running, except for the 240.
Last we checked, we were getting a new motor for that, right?
Still in progress. Yeah, new motor. The other one slapped a valve, I guess. So or bent a valve after slapping.
Slap it to valve.
So getting a new head.
Not a good
Slapping a
thing.
valve. Getting a new head and I think a new B230. So I texted Nick the builder today and haven't heard back. Haven't heard from him in a little bit. I'm gonna call him tomorrow, see if I can get an update. Hopefully hoping for it by the end of March.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be
So
just
hoping
in
for it
time
in a
to
month.
grab it.
Oh, that reminds me.
Yeah.
That reminds me. The IPD garage sale is happening again.
You
Yes,
be
yes.
attending again?
So, any
You going again or?
oh, what's that? Oh, not sure, but is anyone
I'm sure
going?
someone's going. Anyone in chat, perhaps?
There will
No,
be a few
anyone
people
else?
there. I mean, I'd love to
Anyone
go, but it's
else?
probably not a realistic thing just because of like work schedule and everything. But I'd love to. I think that'd be really cool. We could reach out to IPD and Chris and see if we can get out there.
Yeah,
So, to those,
but yeah, it's for anyone that doesn't know, but that's a pretty cool show. Weird Volvos show up and they do it for like alongside this charity group, and it's all for a good cause and everything. And but yeah, it's like the weirdest Volvo show that I have ever seen, and like the rarest Volvos too. So that's happening, I think, later in May. So um, that'd be pretty cool because it was canceled for the past 2 years because of obvious COVID reasons. But it seems like they're coming back this year. So
Yeah.
excited to see how that turns out.
yep. And I just wanted to touch on, oh boy, for the 5 viewers we have left, I think, Facebook might be having some issues. But to those of you who have
Maybe.
asked and want proof of life on the C30, it is a bonus feature in the vlog that's coming out tomorrow on Shifting Lanes 2. It's a really fun one. Greg and I started talking about the
dub.
V60 Polestar and things like that. But at the end, I go over what I would do to, what I would love to do to the C30. Whether or not it's practical remains to be seen. But you guys are definitely going to want to stick to the end on that one because it's I have some big ideas. Whether or not I can afford these big ideas is another story. But I have big ideas, and I love hearing what you guys have to say about my big ideas because, well, let's face it, I'm a bit of an idiot. But at any rate, on the Mustang, we...
Can confirm.
And yet you formed a business with me. What does that say about you? Yes, we are.
But we're all idiots.
Yes, we are.
At any rate, I'm going to the Mustang, but everybody knows, I got Mustang parts today, so we're getting closer to being, to having all the parts I need for boost and reliable, safe boost that won't hurt the transmission, won't hurt the suspension, won't hurt others. But that was a good day, but we all know 700 horsepower at the wheel, boosted Mustang. I can't wait for that. But we kind of touched on this a little bit before, and I wasn't sure if there was anything more we wanted to kind of add to it. Sorry, odd noises coming from my outside my garage. We were talking about Bullet before and how they're making a new one and how it's effectively not going to be a remake, but a continuation of the original Bullet story, which I think is good. I think there's too many attempts to remake movies that have like a hardcore cult following and things like that, like Bullet, or really, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff going on. But like a new story is kind of cool, so it lets the original stand on its own 2 feet. But that actually got me thinking, and this isn't in anything we planned, guys, so brace yourselves. But if you could pick a car chase from a movie or TV show as your favorite, what would it be and why?
I mean, I'll go first because I know it. It's the one from the second Matrix just because
Mm.
I know the scale. Like I watched the behind the scenes of that. And I know the scale that went into that. It's like pretty bananas. Of the mix of actual cars and CGI that like went into that whole thing. I think it's mostly. I don't remember accurately. I think it's mostly real cars, which is insane to think about. But just like the length of it, the scale of it, the cinematography in it, it's just a really cool scene. So it's like, I think it's like 8 minutes long or something like that, which is insane for a chase
Yeah.
scene. So I loved that. I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And when I saw it the first time, I was just like, for a solid 8 minutes. So I thought it was really cool. So that's probably mine.
So another movie just popped in my head. I was gonna say Ronin because I kind of that was my like coming of age kind of thing, and I saw that movie and like I was like, wow, this is amazing chase scenes. But there's another, and I hope you guys could help me find out what this movie is called. But it just came out like within the past year. It's on Netflix. It has Hemsworth in it. Uh, what is it called? It's called Extraction. Have you guys seen this movie, Extraction?
No.
You should, if you have a Netflix account or have someone else's login, watch Extraction. And
because we know that the second part of that is what most people
Greg,
have.
what's the password again?
It's Chad
But-
sucks 1, 2, 3, 4.
All caps, right?
it's a
Yes.
it's an action movie. It's got a pretty decent plot to it. But
And the
there's
Hemsworths
this
are dreamy.
car chase scene. It's actually it's the whole action segment is like about 20 minutes long. I think it's that long. And what's special about
Wow.
it is the way it was choreographed and the way it was shot. It looked like it was one seamless camera shot. It looked like it was one take.
Oh, nice.
So that part of it's pretty impressive. But what's even more impressive is that the that one shot actually goes on through a car chase scene. So just think about like all the camera work that's involved to to not break the shot. So the car chase scenes are pretty intense because the camera goes right up to the actors and to the action, and it goes like through the windshield and like in and out of the car. And you're just thinking this whole time, I'm like, oh my god, I'm in the movie just because they never broke the shot.
That's
So
cool.
Extraction, it's on Netflix. Worth your time. Watch it right now. Not
That's
right
cool.
now.
Like,
Keep watching us, but once we're done, watch Netflix and Extraction.
I think that's cool. I love that part of like cinematography when that happens. The one movie recently that wasn't it like Birdman with what's his face?
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah. And what's her face? Emma Stone, I think was in that too, right? That whole movie was one scene. It was actually like the whole movie was shot as one. It was just like one camera, like the whole
Right.
thing, which is pretty insane to think about. That a whole movie was done in that sort of same manner of what you're talking about, that chase scene. Like that's insane. So like that, I think would make me just watch Extraction just from that perspective, because those are so hard to like get down for a movie, especially in like scale and scope. And I mean that's cool. So I'll definitely check that out.
For me, I gotta say, Ryan Smith, happy to have not sent any rods to God on behalf of your cars. Thank you.
Send a rod to God, brother.
Turn up the boost and let her eat.
Yeah. Just go to Santa.
Actually, one of my favorite car chase movie. Like, there's so many good ones, right? Like, there's the night car chase scene in Goldfinger and James Bond. Like, so many great car chases just in Bond. Like Casino Royale, that car chase was insane. But I think it was in, oh gosh, Golden Eye, with Pierce Brosnan, I believe. I think it was where it was the DB5 and like a 355 Ferrari, and the Ferrari just has no, or would just dust the Aston in real life, but they're just going back and forth. They're just two beautiful cars, beautiful soundtracks, things like that. I mean, but the Bullet car chase scene, just from an audio perspective alone, a 426 Hemi and a 390 Ford V8 just singing off the walls in San Francisco. I mean, it's just it's cool. There's so many really good, the beginning to Baby Driver was just how he managed to drive a Subaru that well without vaping. I thought it was required that you had to have vape at all times, but
there was some in the trunk.
It was a rear-wheel drive
okay,
WRX.
so the vape was removed. Got it. Yes. But like, there's so, but I think there's just a lot, there's a lot of that great stuff there, and then all of a sudden here comes along Recoil, the Gymkhana series, and things like that, and you look at that sort of stuff, and you just gain, especially watching Gymkhana files and just what goes into filming this stuff more specifically than anything else. Just you have to sit back and appreciate that minute and a half, 5 minutes or whatever, probably took you a week to 2 weeks to actually put together, as far as filming, getting the driver, the car control to do, the car to do what you want it to do and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Just that level of just commitment to driving, and of course in those old Bond chases you had the original Ben Collins, the original Stig, I think was his name.
Yeah,
Ben Collins.
So there's a cool little connection. In Casino Royale, it set the record for most flips ever by a car. In a car chase scene. The Blues. I think Blues Brothers had the record, but the Matrix beat it, if memory serves. The car chase you were talking about, Greg, for most cars destroyed in a single car chase. Yeah. That sort of stuff. Like what is it, T2 Judgment Day, where it's just the truck versus the motorcycle and stuff like that. That's oddly cool because shit's just getting destroyed all over the place. Same basic concept in The Rock, the Alcatraz movie with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage and stuff. That was another great, Hummer versus Ferrari, again, two cars that have no business competing, but they made it work and things like that. So it's just lots of really that. There's so much. It's hard to pick a favorite, and you just appreciate for each one for what it is, because they're different. I mean, let's face it, the Dukes of Hazzard gave you a car chase every week, and then eventually led to a Charger probably being destroyed. But all that sort of stuff. But I mean, we're spoiled for choice with a lot of that stuff, I guess you could say. And the new Gymkhana, I'm not trying to make a harsh transition, but are you guys excited for the next two Gymkhanas? Which, if you need a little background, one will be with the Audi Hoon e-tron, and one will be with that old school Subaru wagon that's been turned up to 12. Is there one of those, and this will probably be it, so once we're done with this, we'll call it a night, chat. But real quick, Electricana or Subaru Wagon Kana? I know Greg's answer, so Hanson, you go first.
I mean, I don't know if I'm looking forward to it. It's if it shows up on my feed, I'm yeah, sure, I'll watch that. But I think it's about time that we see an EV kind of doing normal car things, right? It's EVs basically taken everything by storm, and of course we need to see a Gymkhana, an electrified version of a Gymkhana. So it's not going to sound as nasty, but yeah, sure. I think that would be kind of cool. The old school Subaru wagon, though, that'd be really cool to watch, just because just seeing an old rally car, and just being manhandled by someone who's totally capable. I think that's just going to be extremely fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really looking forward to him, to be quite honest with you. I think I've seen enough of them that I'm just cool. I know what's going to happen. It's going to be crazy stunts and stuff, and they're definitely cool to watch. I'm with you, Hanson. If like it crosses my feed, which it will, because it crosses every car person's feed, and they ended up watching it. Like I'm not like looking forward to it. I would actually be more interested in how they built the cars than how they use the cars. So I would be really interested to see like the technical stuff, and not from a sense of like behind the scenes, like what they usually do. I mean like a YouTube channel like Tavarish or Bees for Build, like actually like building it. Like I'd rather watch that than
I'm
the
kind of
actual
surprised they haven't done
result.
anything like that, because it's like the Hoonigan channel has builds and stuff on it, and plus people watched the Gymkhana files after watch, or I guess actually Gymkhana files came out before Gymkhana 10, and Gymkhana 10 was embedded in the end of it. But the Climbkhana files on when they went to the 99 Corners in China was released after Climbkhana 2, and that got crazy views. So I don't know. I think it'd be awesome for them to release, the building of both cars, because for the first time, Gymkhana was always like a rallycross car for forever. Then like the Hoonicorn came and changed the whole formula. Then they bumped it up to twin turbo. Then Gymkhana 10 had just more cars than ever, and all interesting cars. Escort Kazi, the Hoona truck, and then Travis Pastrana got like a rallycross WR or STI on steroids, which it looked cool and had active aero, and it was like like active aero for actually being in the air. Like that's that's such an awesome feature. But in the outside, it was we knew the shape. It's common, right? It's in our minds because we see those cars on the road every day. It's not like a classic car that we don't see very often, or a concept or anything like that. The build series. But imagine and I'm sure Audi's not going to be crazy interested in behind the scenes on how they do electric performance stuff just for proprietary stuff. But I mean, imagine that Subaru build's got to be epic, right? And I understand the people building them aren't like, content creators, right? So they're like, yeah, we will put it together, make it go vroom, and it's awesome, right? So they're not used to camera work or anything like that. So it'd be cool if like they went and checked in on the shop. Like, again, Hoonigan is a multifaceted YouTube empire that they could easily just once a month go down and take a look at it. Because I mean, these builds don't take 2-3 months. There's 6 months to a year to build these level of like effectively race cars, like unlimited class race cars. And
well, they're fully fabricated too. This isn't just like slap a bunch of stuff together. They're like two chassis, like fully built from the ground up.
And like, but that's the cool thing. It's like, hey, here's the chassis. Okay, here's how like the engine side of things. Like, I agree with you. Like, I would love to see how these things are built. That being said, I think I'm looking forward to watching the Electricana first, just because I want to see, because he did a thing with when he was still with Ford, where he drove one of the new electric World Rallycross cars, and just the tire smoke and like the patch of former tire that those things can leave on asphalt is nuts. The wheel speed is incredible because, again, you're not dealing with a transmission. So if the car can go 130, 140 miles an hour, it does that in one gear. So like they get crazy wheel speed that is, it keeps on spinning. So it just melts tires. It looks crazy. So I'm interested to see how they incorporate that with the Gymkhana stuff that we know and love. But I feel like the lack of sound is going to disappoint me, and then I'm going to be like, okay, when's Gymkhana 11 coming out? Or Gymkhana 12 or Gymkhana Pastrana Part 2, whatever the heck they're calling it, is coming out. But like that's the thing. But I like these videos because I like the cars, and I'm curious about the cars, just like you said.
It's more about the cars.
Seeing him.
And also,
go ahead.
Sorry, I just realized that the Subaru that car is being built by Vermont Sports Car. Mm-hmm. And they build all the Subaru rally cars.
Yep.
It's like these are like purpose-built cars. They don't just like, I mean, they probably take an actual WRX, but they strip out so much of it, and then they build like a dedicated cage. So it's pretty cool to see like a like a legit place that builds these rally cars build this wagon version used for Gymkhana. So actually, I'm really looking forward to watching that now because they're pretty awesome. They build like all the Subaru rally race cars.
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty badass.
Even the I think they also build the rallycross cars. 600 horsepower all-wheel drive
Vermont
cars.
sports cars, almost like the. I'm not trying to say they're a direct comparison, but in my head, they're similar to a Pro Drive out over in England, who does so many, like they did. They did so much different stuff. I think the thing that I love the most is that they decided to build a old car that I mean, Subaru doesn't, say what you will, but late 80s, early 90s, there's not really much in the Subaru classic car inventory. It's basically some version of a Impreza, and then another version of an Impreza, followed by an Impreza on stilts, and they call it a Forester. And then the big wagons, the full-size Legacies and stuff were cool and stuff. But it's so awesome to me to see something like this car being built to the same level at which you would build that Mustang they had, the Unicorn and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just I love that concept, man. And like I said, I think I'm going to enjoy this one better, but I'm more curious to see what they do with the electric one. But, unless you guys had anything else, I think that's going to be a wrap for tonight. Everyone who's still here, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're looking, if you head to the second channel, tomorrow we'll have a new vlog out. Again, myself, Greg, mostly the V60 Polestar, and a little bit of Mustang, and a little bit of C30. But other than that, thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.
See you guys.